last time, and we are on verse 19 of chapter 7 of Bhagavad Gita. And the last verse that he did was, "No, but indeed are all these." So he was talking about the four different kinds of bhaktas, the Ard, Jigyasu, Jnani, and Arthati. So out of them, he's saying, but the wise man, means Jnani, I deem, means I consider, my matam, he said, mera mat ye hai, as my very self. So he and Bhagwan at the essence level are the same, and Bhagwan considers them as myself. For steadfast in mind, he's established in me alone as a supreme goal. So Jnani ka goal is supreme goal hai, final goal is to merge with that Brahman. He has intellectually understand, but he doesn't have the experience. So that's where we were from last verse. So now the next verse is verse 19. I'm going to chant that. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan man prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. Bahunam, of many. Janmanam, of births. So out of many births, ante, at the end of it, ante in the end, Jnanvan, the wise, mam, to me, prapadyate, approaches, surrenders. Actually, the real meaning of prapadyate is, charno mein aise surrender karna. Vasudevaha, and we know this is Krishna's name, but we are going to understand why he has this name when we go into the verse. Sarvam, all. Iti is thus. Saha is he. Mahatma, the great soul. Sudurlabha, very hard to find. So, here is the word Bahunam. Bahunam Janmanam means after many lifetimes a person becomes Jnanavan. And so after many lifetimes he comes to a point that he'll surrender to me. So what both the Swamis, Chinmayanandji and the Delhi Wale Swami, they have a slightly different approach, but both are very, very important in what they are saying. So we'll see both. So basically what he's over here is, unless we know the nature of God, we will not be able to surrender. Okay? So, and this, it was earlier said that only one who surrenders will transcend the Maya. And only a Jnani ultimately will surrender. So those are the things that we have to remember from the previous verses. And what does surrender mean? And so firstly, he was just talking about how the surrender takes place in the deep state of meditation. So there's a whole process. And then surrender, we should not, because when we think about surrender, we say, going and bowing down to somebody and all. That's, at a worldly level, but that's not the kind of surrender he's talking about. So it's not at a physical activity. It's not an emotional or intellectual understanding also. It's much subtler than that. That's what he was trying to point out. And it happens in the state of meditation. So after many, many, many lifetimes of being a devotee of God, then there is a chance of it happening. And then walking this path of spirituality and slowly and steadily growing in that understanding, becoming pure in the mind and action and all the relationship. So there are many things involved in this surrender. And so slowly we will gain that final knowledge that he was talking about. So he was just saying that how in the world, even if people call themselves religious, okay, they don't appreciate the importance of knowledge. And you will see what I'm saying, because most of the people follow, start with this or follow, in this category, you will see a lot more people. So knowing God, they might think that, just do some puja, just do namaskar, physically bow down and do some ritual and get some benefit and all that. If you go in the mandirs, a lot of these kind of things you will see. So, but he was just saying, Nikhilananji was saying, for a lot of people, what knowing God is a very strange concept, because the real nature of God is only revealed in the Upanishads, in the scriptures. And but these Upanishads themselves are kind of rare, number one, and they are not everybody can appreciate it, because it is a very subtle language, and you have to know and all that, and to understand it, it's a whole process about it. So he's saying that after many, many lifetimes, one grows and evolves in such a way that will be interested in it or come across it. And so, and he was just saying that all the Swamis, they will tell you, encourage you that if you have come across this knowledge through the Upanishad, consider this your final lifetime. Okay? Because sometimes, many more lives. No. He's going to, what does this many more life mean? You have already come to the gates of it now. That's what, after so long. So one gains this knowledge. It's in the final lifetime that he's talking about, that final knowledge will take place. And then, even Chinmayananji or him was saying that the fact that you have come here, just think to yourself, to just give yourself encouragement about it. And that this is happening after many, many lifetimes. So in what happens in that final lifetime, so just some analysis on that you are totally devoted to God, and you have that deep understanding that the essential nature of God and me is one. Okay, so externally I'm going to be different for sure. So when we say one, we cannot say that physically. No, physically we are not one. Experientially also it's different at the physical, at the transactional level, but at the essence it's one. And so this firm conviction when you get, then that person is called Jnani. Not like a passing phase, or I have doubts and all that. All the doubts are completely gone of that person. Okay? And then he was just saying that there are two aspects. One is the emotional aspect, and one is the intellectual aspect in us. So if emotionally you are convinced, then you are still at the lower stage of the bhakta, because bhakt can be of all different categories. At the highest level of bhakta is also jnani. And we have discussed that in the last class about that. So, but at a lower stage, emotionally, maybe, but then you have to be intellectually convinced also. So it is a blending of emotion and intellect. And then Swamiji talks about this, head and heart blending together, right? I think Meenaji and Sushilji will know this from Chinmaya Mission. We learned this, that when we call about spiritual heart, it's not this pumping heart we are talking about. It is, spiritual heart is like pervades the whole body. So your head and heart both have to be convinced. And then with that conviction, when we continue the study of Upanishad, contemplate on it, and apply it in our own life to follow that path, all these things are part of it. And sincerely and steadily, this conviction will come. And when the conviction comes, then we become fit to surrender to God. That's how the whole process is. And then another aspect of surrender is that, what does it mean? We have discussed it, but I will just repeat it. It means I give up my limited identity. I don't identify with my body, mind, intellect. So I will give up those identification, and fearlessly I will surrender to that pure existence, pure consciousness, pure bliss within me. That's what finally it means. So usually what happens is our little personality, we get a little egotistic, and that prevents us from surrendering. So that's the whole process. And I realize this is my own nature, my own self, and this complete conviction. So he was just saying that he gave an example that suppose if you, jump, like a little kid, like a grandson, if you tell him to jump, if his parents are there, he'll jump, because he's not scared that he'll fall. So like that, that kind of conviction and kind of understanding we have to have, that is called Sharanagati. When he said, what is Sharanagati, what is surrender, that's what it means. No fear, And then it says Vasudeva Sarvamiti. What does that mean? Means I get established in that understanding. There's the entire universe world is pervaded by that Vasudev. So Vasudev का जो word का meaning है ना, what does it mean? It's another Krishna's name. The one who resides in everybody. जो वासुदेव जो सब में वास करते हैं, हिंदी स्पीकिंग को भी नो ना, वास करना, so वास करते हैं, उसको वासुदेव कहते हैं. And so we have to understand that the whole universe is nothing but that Vasudev, and Vasudev is that Parabrahma, and he pervades everything. And then another angle is that Vasudev is the one जो सबके हृदय में वास करते हैं, इसलिए उनका नाम वासुदेव पड़ा है. Okay, so I think we already did this part, that surrender means that I realize that everything is Brahma alone. So this is what the Upanishad's declaration is also, that everything is Brahman, and other than Brahman there's nothing else there. And so one who experiences that deeply and feels it, that means you are establishing it. All the time one has to have that understanding. And that person will, he will be like totally immersed in God. Whatever he will see, he will say, I'm seeing God only. That's what it means. Okay? And then Bhagwan adds two more words over here. He says that such a person is a Mahatma. So Mahatma, we have heard this word used like, Mahatma Gandhi or Mahatma Buddha, So what is Mahatma means Mahan Atma. So there are two ways approaching this. One is the one who understands that Atma is Mahan. That person is Mahatma. So he's not confined to his little body. And the other one, he himself is a Mahan Atma. Because he is himself convinced of it. So he himself became Mahan. It's like the river becoming the ocean. That's how it is. And then this person knows that the entire cosmos is my own self. So that's why he's called the Mahatma. Not just my little body. And then other word he used was Sudurlabham. Means such a person who is a Mahatma, as a realized soul, is very, very rare. It's a very rare phenomena. So out of millions and millions of people, we saw that very few seriously walk this path, And out of the people who walk this path, only few attain this state or this realization. Like we can count. Like somebody said, if you put your hands up, you can count on your fingers, 10 fingers, how many are there in the world. So he's saying that we don't have to get dejected, because finally everybody is going to get there, but it's a very slow process. Because they definitely don't want us to get dejected about it. And he was just saying that it's a very amazing and experience or a state, and then few people who have described it, like an autobiography of Yogi or Sadhguru and all, they described as they're just overwhelmed at how amazing that experience is. So, and then when Bhagwan is talking about we have talked about it many times, whenever he's talking about himself over here, surrender to me or anything, he's talking about he as a Brahma, as Brahman, because he has completely merged with it. Supreme reality he's talking about. And he's not identified at that time with his body or anything, and he's speaking as not as a Krishna as a body, but as Bhagwan himself. And so what he was saying, Dilliwale Swami, that after hearing all these things from this verse, we should strive to get this knowledge. That's how we should get encouraged about it. We should follow the path of Karma Yoga, Upasana, Gyan Marg, all the sequences there, whatever we learned in the previous 6 chapters, and then meditate and come to gain this knowledge, and then we will have this experience also. Okay? And then the next verse is going to be, again, that question. Why people cannot surrender? Because Bhagwan gives all different angles. Why? One more reason he's going to give in the next one, that why people don't surrender, because then we'll have to see that what is my obstacle. These are the obstacles that come in the way of surrender. So, one obstacle may not apply to the other person. That's why Bhagwan is covering all different obstacles. So once we have that knowledge, then we will know where we stand, where we have to tweak it. So that's how, this is what is this in the verse. Before we read, any question, comment? Anybody wants to add anything? Okay. Any volunteers to read? Yeah, go ahead.
At the end of many births, the wise man comes to me, realizing that all this is Vasudeva, the innermost self. Such a great soul, Mahatma, is very hard to find. That such pure men of wisdom are necessarily few in the history of the world, is the declaration here, which in decadent Hinduism we have learned to consider as an extremely pessimistic assertion. Chapter 6, verse 45. A little thought should clearly make the fallacy of this wild conclusion quite evident to us. The entire human kingdom is indeed a very negligible and small proportion of the total sentient creature in the world. In the community of man, not all have a fully developed instrument of rational thinking and divine emotion.
So here, what the approach he's taking is a very interesting one, and it's that out of all the different jivas, we already know, starting from say bacteria to whatever animals are not concerned about, hey, who God is, where did I come from, and all. They have programmed life. Okay? Only human is the one who is even capable of asking that question. And he said that we know that not all humans ask that question. A lot of people are completely Gnostic. They will say, what are you talking about? There's nothing. You just put some matter together and that becomes alive or something. They don't believe in this consciousness is primary and all that. So many different things you already know. So when he says rare, he's coming from that approach also. That's why they say the human birth is so special. You've heard of it, right? Don't waste it. It is a more, because you have evolved from lower thing and you have come up, पता नहीं कितने millions and billions of years लगे होंगे हमको यहाँ पहुँचने में, और तुम पहुँच चुके हो. That's why, from that perspective, he's talking about that, how rare it is. And then out of that also, very few will use their rational thinking and intellect to move forward. Yeah. Okay, I have to, bye. Okay, so, okay, from this house I have to come back to the, yeah, so we were talking about the rare birth. Yes, so everybody got it, right? Why we consider, because sometimes say, oh yeah, what's the big deal? So many people are being born, our population is increasing, but hey, human population is still a very small percentage of the entire jivas, So when they talk in Upanishad and all, they are very scientific about their approach. It's not just, they just don't say it.
Even among those who have fully developed mental and intellectual capacities, it is a rare few that seriously take up the study of the scriptures. All those who study scriptures do not live the scriptures, but they come to feel fulfilled in a more understanding of its contents. Therefore, it becomes evident that only a rare few can ever reach the goal of evolution and come to discover their true divine nature of perfection.
So now, after you reach the human birth, uske baad bhi he's saying that very few take up the scriptures. Then some people just feel so happy and just, I know everything. That's it. The buck stops over there. Become a pandit and, maybe give a class or and all, whatever. But to actually practice it and all, that's another step, or walk that path. So that's why it is rarer and rarer, and how it becomes less and less and less. Yeah.
Like Darwin, in our own days, the ancient rishis also had observed in their times that this development can take place only when, in the flood of time, the different circumstances have rubbed down and polished the imperfect into the shape and beauty of the perfect. It takes trillions of years for an organism to evolve from one given form of existence into a higher form of life. Naturally, it becomes quite clear that for a rational being of subtlest potentialities, it should take an indefinitely large number of lives in different manifestations to scrape off all his ignorance and thereby ultimately reach the perfect realm of all knowledge.
So here he's explained it so clearly that, even from the scientific perspective, that all these different circumstances ki wajah se you rubbed down and polished the imperfectionship. We know that even genetically we change, right? So all kind of science comes in. So इतना refinement होने के लिए बहुत वक्त चाहिए, and then even among humans you will see when we go to the chapter 16 where he's going to talk about Devi quality, Sampatti, and Asurik Sampatti. He's going to talk about it. There are a group of people, nothing makes a difference to them. Just Rakshasa type, they call them. We saw the Puranic stories. They have to be killed only. Because then when they'll take new birth, then thing will change. But there are other people who can change while they are still alive. उसको आसुरी बोलते हैं. एक है देवी, एक है आसुर, और एक है राक्षस. Three different levels. So even among humans, it's not that easy to evolve. So now you've got the whole spectrum, starting from a very low form of life, the complete tamas. They are not trying to be cruel to the animal, nothing like that, by saying that, they are in ignorance, but it's a scientific fact that their intellect is not very bright. That's why some animals you can train to a certain extent, but they can never match the humans, what they can do. So from that perspective, it's a fact of life that, that's how it is. Yeah.
This does not mean that none among us, now striving so hard, has any chance of reaching the goal of life in this very birth. It is not in any pessimistic hopelessness and total despair that this statement is made by the Lord in the Geeta. On the other hand, it is solely for bringing into the recognition of the student the urgency of his faithful pursuit of the higher life. The very fact that a seeker has come to feel a disappointment with his present state of existence, and the fact that he has discovered enough intellectual capacity to appreciate and comprehend the subtle thoughts of the Upanishadic lore, clearly shows that he has reached the very archway to the temple of the self. A little more sincere and steady self-application can take him to the highest state of his evolution.
See how much encouragement he's doing for us, that why Krishna Bhagwan is saying that, just so that, hey, you have reached there now, to the gates of it with this Upanishad. So just urgency of it, and don't give up, because some people will come to this point and then again regress, and nobody wants us to do that. It's like, okay, you started doing your PhD and you dropped it before you finished it, something like that. So your guide is going to say, hey, please don't drop. That's what he's trying to tell us. And the fact that you have come and studying Upanishad, that's also you have seen from kahan se kahan hamara progress ho chuka hai already. That's what he's trying to say. I think this paragraph should give us so much encouragement, Yeah. The connecting one, did you want to read? Or is it in your book? It is in the next.
Ye
khatam ho gaya?
It will be shown why the people are not generally aware that the self or Vasudeva alone is the all.
So that was, I was going to say that why some people is still not aware of it. He's going to give another angle to look at. But, coming back to this, lot of this self-realized people and all, they will tell you the urgency, because they will say, like, if you have missed God, you have missed everything in life. Because we may think we have come here for name, fame, and, collecting a lot of things and all, but we know in the end, none of that is going to go with us. That's the first thing. And secondly, that's not the final goal. No, that is ID goal, And the other one, the main goal is to connect with the higher. Any comment, question? Anybody wants to add anything to this verse? Nareshji?
Kumari, I just wanted to say that, it's not only the encouragement he's providing, also gives us hope that we are on the right path.
Absolutely.
And whatever we have done is not going to get lost.
Yes.
So, is he talking about multiple lifetimes so that we pick up from where we leave?
Absolutely. And that was, we already did in chapter 6. It was Krishna Bhagwan's promise that once you have gained something in the spiritual realm, it's never lost. So the fact that all of us are here means we must have done something in our previous life to get there. Yeah. So what you said is so true. There is so much in it, in that paragraph. And that this Bahu Janmana, it has such a deep meaning. If you just read just like that, say, oh, many lives. But what does that actually mean? When we contemplate upon it, so many things open up about it. And our teacher used to say that, we used to say, oh, we are so lucky that we are in this class. She said it is everybody's here because they want to be here. We all have come together in such a group because that's what we were craving for somewhere deep inside, to do this. And Bhagwan has provided the circumstances and everything to do this. Yeah. Urmilji, you are still on mute if you are trying to say something.
I really like his comparison to Darwin, to evolution. I mean, that how our organisms evolve.
Yes.
Same way we have to evolve our mind.
And we have also come from those organisms only. So, we can look at it that way too. So one thing that I was when I started studying more and more Vedanta, I realized that it is completely in line with science. It has no opposition with science, So because it's not like science is one and Upanishad is one, it encompasses everything, And it is an extremely scientific approach. Means science cannot refute it. Yeah, they can in the end say, oh, I want some evidence. But उनका जो evidence का parameter है वो भी तो change होता रहता है, Now, like if you go in quantum physics, they are realizing that the matter is just appearing. So where is coming from? This has कोई चीज बिना किसी purpose के तो आ ही नहीं सकती. Purpose या कोई बोलना चाहिए cause के तो आ ही नहीं सकती. So what is that ultimate cause? And like one of the Swami was saying, अब science को भी घुटने टेकने पड़ रहे हैं. Consciousness के सामने, because they hit a wall so many times कि उनके भी सर फूट गए. अब बोलते अब तो हमको मानना पड़ेगा. And now when they are accepting it, their scientific theories are also making more sense to them. In fact, there was one interview that somebody did with a scientist on this spiritual program, and he mentioned like that actually science is benefiting because it has opened his mind up now. So some of their theories, which was like shaking and was not, now it's becoming more solid because of the acceptance of consciousness. And people talk about miracle. If you just watched a baby, it is a miracle from like absolutely helpless. Now our grandson is 2-year-old. He started talking, interacting and all. It's so fast, everything. We have not done anything, right? Parents or grandparents may take this great credit. No, something is developing within his brain, right? The nature is doing it. Or even when the baby is in the mother's tummy, mother has to eat healthy, do this, do that, do her job. But that is just 2-3%. 98% is done by nature. We don't even know, even digesting the food. We just eat it. Book karke dala, then we bhul gaye. And the under wo sara process is happening because of, intelligence over there. God is doing it. So you can call it God, you can do it higher intelligence, Mahan Atma, whatever you want to call now. You have so many different names. Choose your pick, If somebody has allergy with the word God, they can use some other name. I think it makes you think, right? Vedanta really makes you think. Any other comment? Question? Okay, so I can close Bhagavad Gita. Sarvadharma parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyah mokshayishyami ma shuchah. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.